Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 286. I am your host, Keith Andrew. Along here is Laura Shapanus. And I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thank you for having me.
This is a special half hour, 40 minutes of your time. You can say anything you want. Freedom of speech, freedom of self-expression. The theme of the show is uncensored. You ask me, I ask you. And normal conversation, making a new friend out of it, supporting a good cause. And for people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove to people you can still amount to something. That labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, and you should prove to them you can still amount to something. With that being said, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Absolutely, I disagree with everything you said.
Don't mind me, Skype has that lag in it. Like I said, a half hour, 40 minutes.
That's all right.
Half hour, 40 minutes of your time. Say anything you want, curse if you want to. And starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Okay, well, my name is Laura Shapanus, and I am an actor, a filmmaker, and a mom of a son who has Asperger's. So my acting career started when I was a very young child. I was always interested in performing and creating and putting on plays and shows. And then as I became older, I was still interested in it, but when it was time to go to college and I came down the stairs and said to my parents, I want to major in acting, and they looked at me and said, no. So I said, okay, business. So I went to college for business, wasn't really into it. So I graduated with a degree in business and finance, but I never really, that was not my passion, never was and never will be. But I did meet my husband in college, so that was one of the best things that came out of college. And then I tried to pursue acting on my own and got involved in the theater in New York City and did that for quite a number of years until I decided I wanted a family. So, let's fast forward, and we have a son. He's now 14 years old. When he was 7 years old, he was diagnosed officially with Asperger's, but when he was 2, he had a speech delay. So that was kind of our first sign that there was something challenging about Jake and about his life. So having a son with a disability has taught me a lot about acceptance and patience and tolerance. And Acceptance is actually the name of my first short film, which I wrote based on my story about when I first found out that he had Asperger's. It is a short film that is a narrative fiction, so it's not a documentary. But I produced the whole thing all by myself. I got a crew together, a director, I wrote it, I acted in it. We shot it in my house and around Robbinsville, and it did very well around the festival circuit. And then 2 years later, I wrote my second short film called Sharks vs. Minnows, which is about a mom who's trying to protect her young son who is being excluded by the kids in the neighborhood. And my real-life son actually plays the lead character along with me. And we just finished showing at a couple of film festivals, and we have one more coming up in March. I'm sorry, in May. We have May 1st in Prairie Park. The festival's called Hang On to Your Shorts Film Festival, so we'll have more information about that as the date gets closer.
No, that's really cool. Now, the next question I was going to ask you was, when you went to college, were you a study nerd or party animal? And did you do any sports?
I'm embarrassed to say that I was a party animal because I really had freedom for the first time. I had freedom for the first time, and I wasn't interested in business. I did what I could to get by, but I was more interested in partying.
All right. Well, what about any sports? Was there any sports?
Well, I played women's rugby, and the only reason I played women's rugby was because they had awesome keg parties after the game, and that's all I cared about. And I got 2 concussions playing rugby, so not so good.
How did the 2 concussions happen?
Oh, I was tackling a girl, and I grabbed onto her, and she did one of these moves, and my head actually hit the ground, and it was very painful. And I don't remember the second one, although I know it happened quickly after the first. I should not have been playing I should have taken a lot of time off of the game, but I didn't. We do some stupid things when we're young.
That's true. What about, did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids, or are you not into the whole human pyramid thing?
No, I don't think I've ever done that. But I was a cheerleader in high school, and that was a lot of fun, because when I was in high school, all of the theater projects were musicals.
Yes.
And I do not have a good singing voice. So I was never part of the theater crowd in high school. And so my acting is comedy and drama, but no singing, unless it's for comedic purposes.
No, same here. Yeah, I love that stuff. I'm a loser. Now, the next question I was going to ask you, I asked you the easy ones, now I'm going to ask you the hard-hitting ones.
Okay.
Is who influenced you to start your career, and how many years have you been doing it?
That's a good question. My influence, I just think I was born with that desire to want to perform. But I do remember a moment in high school when I heard about, people would come up to me and tell me that I looked like this girl, Laura, from General Hospital. And I heard it a lot. So I went home and I watched the show, and Jeannie Francis is the actress that played the character. I think she still does. And seeing her on television really made me think, wow, I wonder if I could do that. But I was very insecure, and I really never had the courage to speak that out loud. It was something I kept inside of me. And when I finally, like I said, when I was going to actually go to college, and I really wanted to major in theater or in some kind of acting. Back then, it wasn't, for women, it was business or nursing or accounting. That's all that was really offered. So when I had the courage to finally say what I wanted, that I wanted to be an actor, my parents said no. And they did it because they were afraid I wouldn't have a career. But it really it hurt that I couldn't do that. And then I did find some theater people once I went to college, towards the end, but it wasn't what I really hoped, for my college dreams. And then after school was over and I started working and trying to make money, I still had that, this desire inside of me, and I really tried to figure stuff out on my own. It was very difficult. There was no internet. I couldn't Google anything. Everything I did, I had to figure it out the hard way. It was very, very challenging. Today, there's so much information out there, which is wonderful.
No, I give you a perfect example of that. Say I wanted to have you on my show about 10 years ago, for an example. There was no Skype in 2006. And I don't know if you were on MySpace or LinkedIn or anything. But for people who, I guess later on, 2009 and up, when Skype came out and Skype Recorder, probably then it would have worked. But going back to 2006, when I was a senior, going backwards to about 2003 or so, my interviews would have been very limited, because I would probably interview, just high school kids or people in the area. And it's just, that's fine. But, you're in the city, or there's some cute girls in Canada and California. That's great. I want them on the show, but how would I actually physically get them on the show? Being it's kind of like, Skype works, so it's kind of like we're in the same place right now.
Right.
It's kind of like, if you go back, said, oh, I wanted to do this in my senior year, I wanted to do this in my junior year, Yeah, it's great. You have high school and you have tons of people in that area. But then it's like when you wanted to branch out to get actors, actresses, and models, you were very limited on unless you were passionate. I can't drive, for if my life depended on it. And also, I can't spell. But it's
that's okay. You have spell check for that.
That's true. And I have a little dyslexia. I can read, but I can't read for a long period of time, or it starts bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, not to get off the subject, if you go backwards, you are very limited. Now you have everything at your fingertips.
Yes.
The
things that I have to figure out for myself, like, getting headshots, where to get the headshots. And I remember getting a headshot and a resume, and I put the resume on the back of the headshot, and I stapled it in the top corner, and I sent it out. I got some labels that you could buy from this place called the Drama Bookshop, and I would mail out like 100 or 200 headshots, and you'd hear back from one person. And that's about the odds, is that for every 100 you send out, you would hear back from one person. And I remember going in to meet with someone, and they said to me, "You're supposed to cut the resume to fit the picture." And I had, the bottom of the resume hanging off. I didn't know. No one told me that. So I had to learn the hard way, where now if you Google that, it's all that information's on the internet. So there's a lot of, great information out there. And there's also some of the same challenges. It's a numbers game. There's a lot of people out there. And that's kind of why I decided to create my own work as an actor, instead of waiting around and being able to take care of my son and be home for him and also pursue my passion of acting. I wrote and created and produced my own short films.
No, absolutely. Now I'm going to pass the show over to you. Like I said, the theme of it's uncensored, freedom of speech, freedom of self-expression. So gloves off. You can ask me anything you want. Was there anything you wanted to promote? Anything you wanted to talk about? This is your time, after all.
Well, thank you. I would just like to promote my Facebook page for my latest film. It's called Sharks versus Minnows, and the versus is just VS period. So it's Sharks, then VS period Minnows, and it's on Facebook. And if people could like that page, it would be great. If they could follow me on Instagram, and it's at Laura Shap. I guess if you could put that on the screen, that would be great. Those two things would be wonderful to get some more followers, and just to, I think it's important to support independent film, and especially films that highlight people who are different. You don't see a lot of films out there with actors who actually have a disability. A lot of times it's an actor acting like they have a disability. I think we're going to be seeing more now of a trend of directors hiring people who are actors and have a disability. I know of a particular female director who has a movie coming out. It's called Keep the Change, and it's a love story, and it's about people with autism, and she used actors that have autism. So she's someone I really look up to, and I think we're definitely going to be seeing more of that. When people talk about diversity in film, that is part of it. Definitely part of diversity, and I think we should, as people who are in that community, we need to support these films, because if we don't start the ball rolling, then who will?
No, absolutely. And two things on that. I do use my brother for an inspiration. He hates me for some reason. I don't know why.
How old is he?
Old enough.
Is he older or younger than you?
Older than me. Okay. I'm the baby of the family.
And how old are you?
Oh, I'm 28. Okay,
so brothers, I'm sure he loves you, but absolutely loves you. He's your brother. It's just sibling, normal sibling rivalry and sibling arguing, and that's totally expected. I'm sure he does not hate you.
I was him at give or take. And, I admit I'm no prize myself, and I do antagonize people, and I accept the fact that I'm an asshole. I don't do it to... I guess one thing that antagonizes people, and I don't do, and I'll be completely honest with you, I don't do this to be like, say I'm an ass. It's, I have, and one reason I want to do the interviews is people say I have poor people skills. So when I'm doing the interview, it gives me more confidence in how to interact with people. Because I do suffer from depression. I do have panic attacks. So one reason I started the talk show is to get over, the panic attacks and to work on my social anxiety and to work with communicating with people. And, I'm pretty much like CM Punk. He's a former wrestler. I walk to the beat of my own drum. I have no filter. And I guess my mannerisms kind of rub people the wrong way. That explains why my brother hates me. It's because I rub people the wrong way. Sometimes I do it deliberately. And sometimes I don't do it at all, but it does, comes out. So it's pretty, I don't know, I'm not saying I'm any prize myself. I'm far from it. But I'm working on myself, and for my talk show, I want to do this until I die. I'm not saying that to be cute. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm very passionate about this. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I want this to turn into something. And I do use my brother for an inspiration, and I watch what he does, and I try to mirror what he does. Monkey see, monkey do. But
what does he do, Keith? What does your brother do?
To be honest, I have no idea. But he doesn't live at home anymore, and he knows hundreds of famous people, so I'm just trying to do what he does. But
how do you know so many famous people?
I have no idea.
Does he live in California or in?
Oh yeah, he lives in California. We really don't talk much. But like I said, I guess that's part of my fault because of my mannerisms. But, family's very important to me. I would like to have, like I said, I'm not, and I don't mean to bitch to you, I apologize. It's just saying that, I do bring things on myself, but I don't do it deliberately. It's kind of like, I'll give you a perfect example. My dad's a famous high school teacher. And he had a lot of famous students, and he's well known and respected. So besides my brother, I do use my dad for an inspiration. But it's basically, without kissing anyone's ass. It's nice to use people for an inspiration, but you really need to stand on your own.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying, okay, I have a disability. I have poor people skills. That's great. I use them for an inspiration, but I don't know. I guess in a way I'm trying to live up to their expectations, but at the same time, you should really make your own expectations.
Absolutely.
Because this is your life. It's just your story.
That's right.
No, absolutely. I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
No, I totally agree with you. And at some point, we have to, not everyone's gonna agree with us. Not everyone's gonna like the way we behave, and maybe thinks we should do things a different way. And as long as we're not hurting anyone, as long as you're not hurting anybody, we do the best we can. One day at a time. And some days, and I know just raising my son, there are things he does that can be annoying. And I believe sometimes I know he can't really help it, but it's frustrating. But it doesn't make me stop loving him at all. It just teaches me that I need to work on myself. I need to work on my patience and my tolerance. And, like the title of my first movie, I can really talk about that for anything in life, acceptance. And accepting, who we are, where we are, what we need to do, what we want, and accepting other people for their faults, because none of us are perfect. We're all just doing the best we can.
No, absolutely, and it's about. I was thinking about wine from Fester Shalom. It's not about how hard a wife hits you. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, because that's what winners do. And don't point your fingers and say you're not here or there because of him or her, because that's what cowards do. And I used to do that. I used to say, oh, it's because, my brother holding me back, I'm not where I want to be, or, I put a leash on myself, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not a coward. I may have a disability. People may say I'm retarded, but, I'm not a coward. I need to stop feeling down. I give you a perfect example. This woman who eventually is going to interview me. She's a big star in Canada, and she has her own TV show. And she's like, well, tell me about yourself. And I went off on this big tangent. Unfortunately, that's what I do. So I went off and I told her about it. It's like, I love your energy. I love how spiritual you are. And then when I said, yeah, unfortunately, my family doesn't feel that way, it's like someone just flipped the switch from very upbeat, very passionate to, why are you talking down to yourself? Why are you degrading yourself? And I'm like, I know I'm not perfect and I piss people off, and I'm sorry I do. But like you said, I'm far from perfect. I have my flaws. And, it's a learning experience. That's what life is.
Absolutely.
You can't please everyone. Either they're going to accept you, like your son, and you're going to accept you for who you are. And if they don't, screw them, because they're not worth your time.
Absolutely not. Life is too short to try to make everybody like us. That's impossible. And I know it hurts when people don't like us. I get it, and I go off on tangents, so I can relate. I have, the same issue. I'm not the quiet person. And I piss some people off in my time doing that. I could sit around and just and agonize over it, and I have. I mean, I feel guilty. I feel like, I should change. I should be different. No, I should work on it a little bit and try to give people some space. But, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. Neither are you. And I think you're doing a great job, and I really think that you're handling yourself very professionally. And I really commend you for being willing to work on yourself, because there are a lot of people out in the world that should be working on themselves and they're not. So, we're doing the best we can.
Hey, a perfect example is that. It's look at the two candidates, Clinton and Trump.
Yeah, let's not talk about politics. I can't wait for it to be over. Yeah, that's it. You never talk about religion or politics, and I hold true to that.
That's true, but I'm just using it as an example, saying they need to work on themselves.
Well, when you put yourself out, unfortunately, when you put yourself out there for the public, right, whether it be like as an interviewer, whether it be as a filmmaker, we are then open to being criticized.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately part of it. And it's so easy to criticize somebody. It's the easiest thing in the world is to criticize someone. Anybody can do it. But it's so much harder that's why it takes courage to do what you're doing, to do what I'm doing. It takes courage because we are doing something we love, and we're vulnerable to being criticized, and we have to understand that that's going to be part of it, but we don't have to pay attention to it. It's like a child having a temper tantrum. When they're stamping their feet and having a temper tantrum, and my son did it when he was young, I was an audience. So the more I stood there and gave him attention, he would go, bigger and bigger with the tantrum. If I walked away, I'd be in the other room and peeking, making sure he was okay. But eventually he would stop because there's no audience. So we shouldn't give our critics the audience that they want. If they should try it. If they're not happy with what we're doing, they should go out and try and do something better.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air.
Sure.
But all credit goes to Bill O'Reilly on this one. Going on the record, when I first approached you to be on my talk show, what was your first honest opinion? And after being a guest on my talk show, how do you feel now?
My honest opinion was that I was very flattered and excited, and my opinion hasn't changed at all. You know, maybe it's because of where I am in my life, and the fact that who my son is has changed me to be a kind of a person who isn't as judgmental anymore, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for that, because something that I thought was very difficult when I first went through finding out about the diagnosis has turned really into the best thing that's ever happened to me is my son. Absolutely, and the way I view the world and the way I look at anyone with a disability.
No, absolutely. Now, wrapping up the interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to building a friendship with you as well.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed being on your show. Thank you, Keith.